There's a lot of activities happening in the building right now, which is typical. As the building progresses, you get more and more trades working. You may start out with just a grader, and then you add your underground people, and then you start bringing in electricians and framers and drywallers and roofers and HVAC, and there comes a point when virtually everybody's here at the same time working, and we're rapidly getting to that point now. This is our student services building here at Oxnard College. We're starting the erection of our curtain wall system, which you see on the high bay here, and they're putting the frame materials in for that. And we've installed approximately, I'd say about 99% of the masonry work is done now. There's a little touch-up areas and a little bit of areas, for example, right here near this high bay that are not complete yet, but that's because of a sequence situation where we need to come in and put the glass work in and then bring the masonry in up against it. On the interior, all of the HVAC equipment is in. Most of the electrical work is in. They're doing data today. The sheetrock is complete in most of the lower stories, probably 70 to 80% of the upper stories, and about half of the high bay area. So they're taping that, and they're putting their first course of mud on the walls. So the two things that are really going to make the building pop out are going to be the completion of the masonry facade work and the installation of the windows and the curtain wall system. Those are things that really make it look like a building. So the crew that's here working on the scaffolding is our sheetrock installers, and the area that they're in right now is the main lobby area, what we call the high bay area or high roof area. Well, the challenges now are a lot of the detail type work. There's a lot that has to be done. Walls have to be prepped for paint. Cabinetry has to be built and installed. We've got a main reception desk here that needs to be fabricated. Floor finishes, the drop ceiling and the hard ceiling lids need to be in place. Right now we have a lot of overhead things happening. We have plumbing, we have HVAC, piping and insulation, wire hangers. A lot of our valves that control our building heating and cooling systems have been installed, and associated piping, electrical, and all those kinds of things. Just getting the walls ready for paint, it's a huge job. It's a lot of labor. And even though these crews that do this work are professionals, this is what they do as a trade. They specialize in this kind of work. It still takes a significant amount of time because there's so much to be done. Because once you put this on, it needs to be sanded, and then you need to check for dings and dents and blemishes. And the walls basically have to be perfect because anything that's left on a wall will show under the paint. There's a very high standard of finish work required on this building. This is one of the open rooms for one of the restrooms. The basic rough plumbing is in. Then they'll come in, they'll do the installation. And then over the top of the installation will be applied the green board waterproof material. This is a pipe threading machine that's used by our plumbing contractors. They cut the pipe that they need to length, and then they thread it, and this machine puts the threads on the pipe for them. Everything that's insulated overhead is either part of the heating or cooling system. We collectively refer to it as HVAC, heating, ventilation, air conditioning. And the ductwork is insulated to prevent condensation on the ducts and also to provide some sound attenuation or sound insulation. Well, this is the main dining room for our new cafeteria, but the framing is up and the soffits are being constructed now. We have our HVAC equipment in now. Work is coming along on this building as well. Most of the block layup is completed. We have a few small sections that we're continuing to work on. You can see the scaffolding to my left here. And then we're setting up our stringer system for our plaster lids. He's installing hangers right now to help support the system. It's a seismic brace as well as a gravity load brace. And the vertical support the dead load. The horizontal support the seismic side-to-side load. So we have a vertical support system, and we have a horizontal support system. One of our workmen is over here now. He's setting up the light gauge framing for our soffit. If you look just underneath the metal that he's holding with his hand, you'll see a kind of a pinkish red beam. That's a laser projection on the wall, and that's what allows him to line that piece of metal up level completely across the room. This area that's directly in front of us, where the drywall is sitting right now, is the food servery area. It's the area where we have raised platforms. We have a taco bar, salad bar, coffee vending area. Stainless steel hoods that go over our cooktops, and we're getting ready to install those. So we just have them staged here for now, and then we'll move them into the kitchen area. What we call storefront window system. Storefront window system is basically a hollow metal system with glazing, and you can see some of the components that go into that. We have a precast concrete unit here. It's an architectural element as well as an element that supports the window glazing system. And then in some of the areas you'll see a light gauge frame. For example, this frame is part of the system that will be installed in this area. So there's a lot of components that go into something as simple as a window. There's a huge amount of material that goes into building this size. Everything has a specification, from the thickness of the studs to the break strength of the concrete, the quality of the mill specs on the rebar, electrical work. Every product that goes in this building is certified in some way or another. Bob Berkey from Douglas Barnhart is our quality control manager here on the project. And what Bob's job is specifically is to make sure the things that are delivered to this site meet those specifications and have the proper certifications as a base material. The installation of that material then is part of his responsibility, as well as the inspector of record, our DSA inspector. So the two of them work very closely together to ensure that we get what we specified, that we have the right material, that it has the right certification and paperwork to document the certification, and that it's delivered on site as needed, when needed, and it's installed according to the codes that we have to live with. What's going to change the appearance of this area, and it's going to make a tremendous difference, is when we do the flat work out here, the concrete work that goes out between these palm trees and under this walkway. Right now we're looking at a lot of dirt. We have some paper and things around. Once that's gone and the flat work is down, it's a very clean look to the building at that point. And you start to see the building as it's really going to look when it's done.